Imagine a time when Hollywood wasn't just a place, it was a dream. A world of golden lights, velvet gowns, and cigarette smoke swirling through backstage mirrors. It was an age when stars weren't made by social media, they were carved by talent, charisma, and mystery. But fame, like a candle, burns bright and then fades into the dark. Today, we rewind to remember the forgotten faces of old Hollywood, the ones who once shone brighter than the California sun, but were later lost to time. Welcome to the American Rewind. 1. Carol Landis, the blonde who had it all. Carol Landis was known as the blonde bombshell. With her charm and breathtaking beauty, she was destined to be one of Hollywood's biggest stars in the 1940s. She worked alongside legends like Betty Grable and Victor Mature, and her energy could light up an entire set. But behind that dazzling smile was a world of heartbreak. Her career began to fade just as quickly as it had risen. Struggling with depression and broken relationships, Carol took her own life in 1948 at just 29 years old. Her death shocked Hollywood, but as the years passed, her name disappeared from the headlines. Today, only a few film historians whisper her story. 2. John Gilbert, the silent screen's forgotten king. Before Clark Gable or Cary Grant, there was John Gilbert. In the 1920s, he was one of the most beloved silent film actors in the world, a romantic idol who could make audiences swoon without uttering a single word. But when sound arrived, everything changed. His deep voice didn't match the image fans had built in their minds, and the studios turned away. He was soon labelled the man who couldn't talk. In truth, it wasn't his voice that doomed him. It was the cruelty of the new Hollywood machine that didn't know how to handle yesterday's heroes. Gilbert died at 38, forgotten by the industry that once adored him. 3. Dorothy Dandridge, the tragic trailblazer. Dorothy Dandridge was the first African-American woman nominated for a Best Actress Oscar. She had everything: grace, talent, and a smile that could melt the screen. But in the America of the 1950s, the system was not kind to women of colour. She was offered glamorous roles, yet never the ones that could build a lasting career. Racism and Hollywood politics stood in her way at every turn. By the 1960s, her star had faded. She died tragically young, only 42. Dorothy opened the door for many who came after her, but her own story was left behind in the shadows. 4. George Reeves, the man who played Superman. Before Christopher Reeve or Henry Cavill, there was George Reeves, the original Superman of the 1950s TV series. Kids adored him. He was their hero, their man of steel. But off-screen, Reeves struggled with being typecast. Hollywood didn't see him as an actor anymore, just a costume. In 1959, he was found dead from a gunshot wound. Officially, it was ruled a suicide. But to this day, fans still whisper about what really happened. Some say it was murder. Others call it heartbreak. Either way, George Reeves became a tragic symbol of what fame can take away. 5. Gene Seberg, the face of rebellion. In the late 1950s, Gene Seberg was Hollywood's promise of something new. She was fresh, smart, and had a spark that made directors call her the future of cinema. But Seberg's activism and outspoken nature during the 1960s civil rights movement put her in the crosshairs of the FBI's CONTEL-Pro surveillance. They smeared her reputation, and the pressure of constant harassment broke her spirit. Gene Seberg was found dead in Paris in 1979. She was just 40 years old, another casualty of Hollywood's cruel obsession with control and perfection. Point 6. Montgomery Clift, the handsome rebel. Montgomery Clift was the actor everyone wanted to be. Brooding, intense, and raw, he changed Hollywood's acting style forever. James Dean idolised him. Marlon Brando admired him. But after a terrible car accident in 1956, his face and his life were never the same. He battled pain, addiction, and loneliness for the rest of his days. Elizabeth Taylor once said, "Monty was the most beautiful person I ever knew, inside and out." When he died at 45, his death was called the longest suicide in Hollywood history. 7. Lupe Velez, the Mexican Spitfire. Lupe Velez was one of the first Latina stars in Hollywood. Bold, fiery, and unapologetically herself, she broke barriers in the 1930s when very few Latina actresses could even dream of stardom. But the gossip press called her wild and too emotional, labels that crushed her public image. In 1944, she died by suicide, leaving behind a note that read, "To the world, this is the only way I could say goodbye." Hollywood quickly moved on, forgetting the woman who paved the way for so many others. Fame is a strange thing. It promises immortality, but it rarely delivers it. These stars lit up the world once. They gave us stories, laughter, and unforgettable faces. But fame is a fragile flame, and Hollywood's spotlight can turn to darkness in an instant. So tonight, as the silver screen fades to black, let's remember them, not for how they died, but for how brightly they once shined. Because legends never truly disappear. They just wait for someone to rewind their story. This is The American Rewind.